All right. How's everyone doing today? How's everyone doing today? Oh boy. Oh boy. Do we have a lot to go over today? We have a lot to go over today. You know, we'll give just a little bit more time. A little bit more time for people joining. Oh. So, we have a bunch of things to go over. This is a holiday weekend for a lot of people, which is cool. Hope everyone's doing something fun and interesting for your holiday. Let's see. We can go ahead and get started. Sorry if I was very sick this last week. I was very sick. It was not fun. But I'm doing mostly better. I'm gonna keep today short. Actually, let me post this in the Discord. Going to keep. All right. We can go ahead and get going, and we will see how this goes down. All right. So today I told you guys I would keep you updated. There was a bunch of stuff. There was a bunch of stuff going on, but I told you I would keep you up to date on the Elon versus Sam Altman trial, and I mean, at the end of the day, a federal jury in Oakland, California, on Monday said Elon waited too long to sue OpenAI and its CEO Sam Altman over claims they allegedly violated an agreement to run their artificial intelligence venture strictly as a charitable nonprofit. So it was thrown out. Now, Musk did say that he would appeal it, and so that's what he's going to do. But if you didn't get anything else out of this, you got to see the communications between a lot of the world's richest people as they messaged back and forth, which was probably my best, my favorite part of the whole thing. Getting to see Sam Altman, Satya, Musk's communication. Brilliant. I always thought that I was bad at communicating. It turns out I'm still bad at communicating. But anyways, I don't think that there's anything more to say about this other than that was the verdict. He waited too long to bring this case, and it was thrown out. Now, while we're talking about around on the internet, there was some other funny news that happened. I guess I thought that this was funny because I'm not sure what ChatGPT is doing. You can securely connect your bank account and then ask questions about it, which is, I guess, cool if you want LLM to have your financial information. I feel like this was really, really interesting because it seems to be a huge step outside of their bounds, and I'm not sure like why. I'm not entirely sure why, right? To me, ChatGPT's biggest goal is to sell their LLMs, and their LLMs could be powered in things like Rocket Money or something like that. It's a service that you already pay for, where you could ask those questions. Or, completely locally where you're not sending that data across the wire. So it's an interesting move, but it exists. In the wall of shame today we had a wall of shame. I have it down here because this is probably the biggest shame part here, but the CISA, which if you don't know is the Cybersecurity Infrastructure Security Agency, which does cybersecurity and infrastructure security, the two big securities for the United States. It had a GitHub repo with plain text credentials. Now, biggest fail was GitGuardian actually caught this. So if you guys don't know GitGuardian pretty much continuously scans GitHub repos for you, any public ones that they can, to try to make sure that we keep secrets outside of them. Now, what we didn't know, or what we didn't realize, is that there would be some people that would be super slow to respond to the fact that you have GovCloud secrets. So what happened was GitGuardian scanned and found that this repo actually had plain text secrets for a CISA GovCloud, AWS GovCloud credentials. And these were actually not only plain text, not only tokens, not only cloud keys, not only passwords and everything else that you could think of. It was just a pure treasure trove of sensitive information, stuff that shouldn't be in a Git repo anyways. Even if it's like supposed to be a private repo, you shouldn't post those things in it's just, one of the files was titled important AWS token. Fantastic. That had administrative credentials. But this is not the epic fail. I mean, this is a pretty epic fail. Let me rephrase. This is not the shame on you fail part. What was found out to be worse, which I just unhighlighted the GitHub account was finally taken down. And when it was finally taken down, the AWS keys continued to be valid for the next 2 days. For 2 more days, those keys didn't get rotated. That's step 1 in this, is rotate your keys. So anyways, massive fail. I don't know what they're doing to contain that breach, because at this point you have to review all of those systems bit by bit. Hopefully they're well protected. I've not actually seen in GovCloud. It makes me worried though that this is what happened. I didn't see anybody posting on this. I wanted to call it out. There's not much more to say. We could talk about the reduction in workforce at the CISA. We could talk about how this was an external contractor. So I believe it was a company called Nightwing or something like Nightshade or something like that. Let's see, it's in here somewhere. Nightwing, yeah, Nightwing. So, maybe they're using external contractors more. They haven't really, and I couldn't find the CISA didn't release anything for public disclosure, so there's nothing I could really go on beyond just what I have here. Nightwing sounds like a Batman plane. Nightshade sounds like a plant. I'm pretty sure that's been used as a plant in something. What you don't realize is what nightshade is actually. Is when there's a full moon in the middle of winter with perfect snow cover in Canada. It's super bright. Like, and it's eerie. It's an eerie brightness because there's no shade. There's no shadows. You're very accustomed to like shadows and stuff. And if you go into a forest, there is actually shade, and that's nightshade, by the way. That's actually technically what nightshade is. But it's really weird because the snow is reflecting the moonlight, which I know the moon is reflecting the sun, so this is like tertiary reflection. But because of that, there aren't shadows, and it's very eerie. If you get the chance to do this sometime, it's one of the eeriest things when you go out, big, bright, full moon, perfect snow cover, clear sky. One, you can walk around without a flashlight, easy peasy, easy peasy. Two, super eerie because like you don't realize how accustomed you are to seeing shadows. And three, if you're looking for nightshade, that's how you find it. Anyways, that was a long. Nightwing. Anyways, it wasn't Nightshade. It was Nightwing. And it does sound like a Batman plan. I'll try to mute if I can remember to. Okay. I'm going to keep my voice in the very personal. Anyways, just wanted to call this out because I think it was the fail of the week. And sadly, the fail of the week was on the CISA. Sadly, that's where we're at. The fail of the week was on the CISA. So anyhow, we'll move on. We'll move on to some other things around the internet. Google was going to be the fail of the week. Like before this catastrophe happened, before this, they were slated for fail of the week. They were slated for, but we had two fails. And the CISA actually trumped Google's. Deleting a Google API key doesn't revoke it immediately. Our researcher found successful authentications up to 23 minutes after deletion across Google's infrastructure. During that window, attackers with a leveraged key can still access enabled APIs, including Gemini. So this is, I will give you this if you guys want the link to it. This is a fairly reputable security firm, and basically, because of the publicity this got, they reopened their report and are treating it as a P0. So basically, they said, nah, we're not going to fix it. And then a lot of us that have like direct reports into Google and have contacts there were like, this isn't acceptable. Like we provide services. And if we revoke a key, we need access to stop immediately. That's like the point of revoking a key. So anyways. So what we use in our class. Exactly, Russell. Exactly. So anyways, you can go read it. It's a good read. Honestly, if you're not super familiar with like API keys and how they work, this is a good read. It's a good primer if you're just learning a little bit, but also trying to understand what happened at Google's. It's a fantastic read. I highly recommend it. Um, and then before we get into all the rest of the news, I wanted to point out this. The Drupal vulnerability in Hacker Crosshair shortly after disclosure. A staggering trend that I have noticed, and I don't know if this is because AI has enabled a lot of like script kiddie level things to be able to take advantage of vulnerabilities when they're first disclosed. The window to the vulnerability disclosure and actually patching the software has gotten much, much smaller. It used to be that when a vulnerability was disclosed, you would have weeks before really active exploitation. And at this point, you can find it if it's an easy to access, if it's an easy to exploit, you can find it in a matter of hours. I would say maybe even minutes. I think the hours is just because it takes that amount of time for them to find it. And I'm not entirely sure. I don't want to just sit here and blame AI. I have just seen this more and more. That when people like Drupal release a vulnerability, you have very little time. And I guess my thing is, know the core technologies you're using. You should have like a list of all of them. And you've got to, you've got to patch immediately. Like you got to treat this as a high impact patch immediately. AI does make it easy to quickly create a way to utilize the exploit. Eagle 11, I agree with you. I think that getting me all worked up. Getting me all worked up. Sorry, everyone. I was pretty sick over the week. I have to keep my voice down, or else, which is maybe a benefit to everybody involved. Maybe a benefit to everybody involved. But yeah, I think you're comfortable blaming AI. That's my gut feeling. That's my gut feeling is because also when you look at these vulnerability disclosures, they put in everything that you really need. Like even if they don't put in the exploit, they put in all the technical details of the things that were exploited. And so I think AI has rapidly increased how you can go from high level context to actual exploit. So anyways, this was just hours. Thousands of Drupal servers were attacked within hours of the release. So anyways, that being said, Eagle 11, you hurt my feelings. You hurt my feelings. The fact that one of my closest friends only ever watches my stream. To make sure that I wasn't faking sickness throughout the week. Oh. All right. Well, I'm going to need to take another sick day for mental wellness. That being said, this week's news, I mostly have security. We have some non-security things to go over, but this week is going to be a lot of security, and it's stuff that I've already covered or attacks of the same variety that I've covered before. And I think that my biggest thing in 2026, if your company isn't doing this, supply chain needs to be your number one security asset. So if you're going to secure one piece, if you're going to focus on one piece of your entire, we can talk about the security pillars, we can talk about NIST and whatnot, but if we're going to talk about one thing out of all of your pillars, it's your supply chain. Now, I can't say enough good about Step Security. They're not sponsoring me in any way. And although I would happily take a sponsor from Step Security because I really do believe in the stuff that they make. And I am going to send them an email about trying to integrate their stuff in the AI games when we go in July, when we go and build an actual product, because I think it would be a really cool team up, and we can show you how their stuff works. But beyond that, a new wave of mini shy hollowed NPM words is actively compromising packages across Alibaba's AntV data virtualization ecosystem. The compromised NPM tool account, a tool which publicizes time ago JS, blah, 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 blah. It's, again, a shy halud affecting a very specific set. The worm is not just stealing secrets, it's using them. Over 2,200 public Git repositories have already been created using X-filled tokens, each named with a Dune universe terminology and described with a reversing string, which reads forward shy halud, here we go again. This attack makes the black radius of the attack visible in real time and confirms that stolen credentials are being actively exploited to create infrastructure for further operations. Now, what happened in the last one, and I warned everybody then, is that all of these keys are being stolen, and the attackers don't necessarily know all of the access tokens that they have. They have a lot, but they don't know all of the ones they have. So I expect, as we saw in previous ones of Shy Halud, to see other attacks being leveraged from these stolen keys. So if you had stolen keys and you know that you had stolen keys, you need to go and let me send you this. You need to you do. I don't like the name Shy Halud anymore. I do not like the name Shy Halud. I can't even watch the Dune movies because, like, man, if they bring up the name Shy Halud, I start shaking. I pull up my laptop, start monitoring all the security tools that we have. I heard Shy Halud. Okay, so if you don't know how to go check if you've been compromised, which you should, you need to basically check for this string here. Here we go again. It's really weird. I can't read normal English very well, but I can actually read backwards fairly well. Like when it's actually just backwards like this, here we go again. Now, I might struggle with reading it forwards, but backwards it's all right. All right. Anyways, so a lot of stuff got hit by this. And we can talk about a lot of companies. Now, this has a list of all, I think it's up to 400 packages at this point that are compromised, what versions they're compromised at. And you can go, you don't have to show all of them. You can go and see if any of these things like OpenClaw, all of these that are here. So you can go look. I highly recommend that you do. There's quite a few. Now, this is just from the Shy Halud. There are several other things that then happened in the ecosystem. Why did it leave? I actually think this is hubris. We have a thing at our company that we built that took like 20 minutes to vibe code that just looks for static strings in all of our repositories. And the only thing that I can think of, so like in our infrastructure, if the words Shy Halud appear forwards or backwards, there's like a P0 alert that goes off. If those words appear in anywhere but Slack, it was interestingly enough, we accidentally wrote the word Shy Halud on purpose, which triggered an alert. Anyways, we kind of P0'd ourselves once. But it's very easy to detect. And I have two theories. there's either theory one, hubris, and they find it funny because they find it funny, or two, they're doing something else that people haven't detected, and they're leveraging this as a way to make people feel comfortable. That's what I would do. If I had two things, I would make one easily detectable so people focused on that while I did another thing. I've always wondered if the Shai Haluds always happened at another time when something else was happening. Now, there was other things happening. Were they Team PCP, which was the Shai Halud? Some of them were. Some of them actually were. And we're going to cover those in a little bit. This was done by Team PCP. If people, the cat-loving fiends. It's like the baddies in Home Alone flooding everything. When they are caught, they are blamed for all their crimes. Many criminals are dumb. Yeah, I know. That's why, like, it could be hubris, right? It could be hubris. The wet bandits. I do think that they tend to sometimes be stupid. Not stupid, but like you don't necessarily think about these things. And now that we're discussing them, we're helping them hone in Shai Halud version 4.0, because that's what the next one would be, Shai Halud 4.0. We've actually just started naming them like mini Shai Halud. You know, so next one's going to be Megadon Shai Halud. Shai Halud Strikes Back. I can come up with more Shai Halud references. I guess we should like Duniverse them, so not like Shai Halud Strikes Back. Like that's too Star Warsy. We'll come up with some new Shai Halud names. Shai Zendaya. I don't hate it. I don't hate it. Okay. So, what else happened during this? Well, we had a tan stack. I don't actually have the tan stack announcement. I don't actually have the tan stack announcement. I should have had the tan stack announcement, but the tan stack was breached. Now, I got this because if you guys are using GitHub Actions, I highly recommend you use you read this, because they did a hardening pass of their GitHub Actions, and I think that it was really good. Something I've been talking about: if you have open source and you use GitHub Actions, you need to actually work very hard to protect those GitHub Actions. And so that's basically what they did. So you can go, oh, here's their postmortem. I should have put the postmortem. But what I really wanted to focus on was their hardening of the tan stack after the NPM compromise, because this was really really important. But while we're talking about this, who did the tan stack influence? Well, Grafana was one of them. So basically, everybody downstream of the tan stack was hit by this supply chain attack. And you know, they didn't call out the tan stack or anything like that, but they did get their internal code base stolen based off of this attack here. And you can go read about it. So Grafana was one of the people that, I remind you, mini Shai Halud is going on right now, and Tanstack gets it hit. After a 3-day full security sweep and hardening pass, we're issuing an official all clear on the Tanstack repo and package secured. Only the router start repo was affected. 24 mono repo packages, 2 versions each. All were deprecated within an hour and removed by npm shortly after this. Again, this is why what is it? Here's the PMP. So if you're using PNPM, which I just love the name. Oh, we're in an ad break. We're in the ad break. We're gonna wait for just a second. We're in an ad break. Thanks everybody for joining. How's everyone doing? I had a long week. I was not feeling well. The next one will be the God Emperor. $50.26. All right, everyone, set your clocks to 50. You know what? It would be better to set them to 50.27. Just 3,000 years plus one. Like, just 50.27. I think is what we need to do. I think that's the appropriate response. I have to go I gotta go scrape beeswax off of a beehive. They're getting a little too outside of the lines, not on the frames. They will build wax wherever you don't want them to build it. Bees are sometimes one of the most annoying creatures to try to care for. All right, so we're back. We have, over the ad break, we have decided that the true fix to this is setting our clocks forward 3,000 years. And that should protect us from all the Shai Halud funny business. Now, what I wanted to call out of this was one of the big things that I have been calling for a long time. And I think the community is starting to listen to me. Like, I've literally been calling for this for over a year. You all know it. Is that you have to have this. This is your ground zero. It's not your only defense. It doesn't solve the whole problem. But this is ground zero. In PNPM, there's and in NPM, in all of them, there is a minimum package age. So you can actually set this and protect yourself. I actually think that all of these package managers should default to 3 days. And you can set it to 0 days if you want. I actually think that they should all do that. Absolutely. You don't want a package that's less than 3 days old. You want to let it cook for a little bit because security research, it gives time for people to detect that they've been hacked. In many cases, the companies know these things happen, but by the time they've pulled them down within an hour or two, it's already reached too many people, which have already hacked more people. So an attacker published 84 malicious versions across 42 TANstack NPM packages by combining the pull request target, pwn request pattern, GitHub Actions cache poisoning across the fork, and base trust boundary. This is a known issue. You guys can we've talked about this. I don't want to go into it too much, But if you're running GitHub Actions, if you're in an open source, you have got to take this very, very seriously. I recommend you start with the tan stack postmortem. I think there is a good place, because I said their postmortem, not their postmortem, their incident follow-up. So they're hardening the tan stack after the npm compromise. Now, they actually propose some really interesting, like, severe takes. Like, one of their things that they've proposed, and I think that this is, I hope this is not the way we're going. I don't know. Maybe it is the right way. But one of the things that they proposed was invite only. Yeah. Issues and discussions welcome from anyone. PRs from non-maintainers by invitation. So basically, issues and discussions welcome by anyone. PRs from non-maintainers, so not people working from TanStack, by invitation. I don't know. And they pose this as an open question. They didn't say that they're actually doing this, so you can go read it here. You can go read it there, but it's a problem with our open source security. Right now, our open source supply chain is the biggest problem that we have. And I don't see enough companies trying to fill this gap. I actually think one that is possibly, I kind of got really annoyed at said company CEO. I might talk about that a little bit later. There is one company that that has been doing some, and I think I actually told them that they could be doing a lot more, because I think that there's a lot in the open source community about securing these packages and protecting from this. And I think that there's companies that would pay for that and would actually then filter down to paying the open source maintainers to provide better security. But it does not stop there, does it? No, it doesn't. This was hilarious. This was meant to be later on, but this was hilarious. We are sharing additional details regarding our investigation into unauthorized access to GitHub's internal repositories. Yesterday, we detected and contained a compromise of an employee device involving a poisoned VS Code extension. Removed the malicious extension version, isolated the endpoint, and began incident response immediately. I want you guys to let that sink in. Now, this is another attack of the supply chain that I've been warning about. I've been warning about this very specific one. This is why everybody should be moving to Zed. But the problem with the JavaScript ecosystem is it's leveraged for plugins in a ton of things. We can talk about VS Code. We can talk about VS Code and how one of the extensions here was compromised by one of the mini shy haloods here, and it led to the compromise of GitHub. This is why I say, if your company's security policy in 2026 is not supply chain first, I don't think that you know the threat landscape. This is where people are just going to take you. Now, what makes this particularly fun, what makes GitHub's fail particularly funny, is it was their entire ecosystem. It was Microsoft VS Code. It was the VS Code extension hosted on Microsoft's marketplace. And it was GitHub. Now, the funniest response that I saw was this. How did the attackers find a large enough uptime window to get in? Now, this is a little undue hate here. If you guys have the reason it's a little undue hate, you can look at how this all happened, but GitHub uptime. where this is like the unofficial Git uptime tracker, the missing GitHub status page. And it has it at 86.7% uptime. Now, this is a little misleading, to be fair, because this was an incident with CodeQL that didn't affect GitHub really at all. This was a incident with CodeQL. CodeQL seems to be a problem. CodeQL is a heinous thing that you should not have in your infrastructure. Incidents with high error rates on Git operations. So again, but it counts any partial outage as an outage for the day. So this is like per day. It's really not as bad as this looks like. Now, it's pretty bad. It's pretty bad, but it's not as bad as this makes it look like. But it's still bad. Like if you look at pages, the fact that there was a 39-minute outage. What was this? Partial outages are hard to count into uptime analysis. Do you count a partial outage? I have to go in to see how this was affected. Was there elevated error rates? Because if there was elevated error rates for 3 hours, that doesn't really count. So a lot of this is. And then Copilot is buggy as crap. And if you bubble this all up, yeah, it looks worse than it actually is. Anyways, it's still well-deserved because it's still terrible. It's still terrible. I wasn't sitting there defending them. I realized it sounded more like I was defending them. Their uptime is still terrible. You know what's even more embarrassing? When I was looking this up, and their attack, oh, it loaded. One of my sources for it. Oh yeah. Look at this. GitHub.com was down this morning. It was down. I couldn't. I couldn't load the Git repo because Git was down. Oh. Oh. Okay. So I was defending them a little bit, but like, let's see. It should work this time, right? Oh wait, maybe it's not still working, but I was okay, yeah. Okay, it's finally back up, but I left that there. I didn't try refreshing it. I tried refreshing it for like a couple of minutes, and it was down, and I was just like, I'm leaving it there to show you all. So there was definitely some issues this morning. I don't know if it's gonna show up. No nines is the futures. Compared to 2 years, it's absolutely awful. It's absolutely awful. The fact of the matter is like having something go wrong on GitHub, is just like kind of your standard day at this point. It's just so bad. It's just so bad. Anyways, it was down this morning for me. So anyways, I found this. How did the attackers find a large enough uptime window to get in? I found this hilarious. Anyways, I want to talk about this take. It's an interesting take. But this is a very clear summary of what happened. Microsoft GitHub was compromised when a Microsoft developer using Microsoft Visual Studio Code installed a rogue extension. It wasn't a rogue extension. Just to be clear, this wasn't like, hey, I downloaded. So it was Inex, okay? It's a very common one, okay? This was not like some, oh, I got this linter from this random person. It was a very reputable thing. And it's actually I have complained to Microsoft. Because this is actually a very easy fix. This is a very easy fix, and it annoys me that it's so easy and isn't fixed yet. If you go in here and go to your extensions and click on any one of them, the auto update is enabled by default, which means this extension by default will get the latest, which it's just an npm package, and that npm package has the entire supply chain. And so this is a direct access into your developer's workstation through npm Shai-Hulud worms. You cannot have auto update on. And if you're in VS Code or any of the subsequent things built on top of that, so we're talking Cursor, we're talking about anti-gravity, we're talking about any of them, you have to make sure that you're going in and disabling auto update. You can script out a Python script really quickly that will go and automatically do this. The fact is you can't have auto update on. And really, Microsoft should have a cooldown period for this. Again, it's such a simple and easy thing. If you have auto update on, have it a week, like a week break-in period, right? Easy peasy. I would support auto update at that point. Auto update with a week. You can't have the latest package. If you want auto update, fine. Okay, anyways. So this is very much. You thought it was a fake NX? I thought it was a real one. Was it a fake NX? I mean, first off, if even if it was a fake NX, it means that there was it's not as much on the developer's side, right? They thought that they were getting a retributional package if it was faked. I did think that, let me look. Maybe they haven't said. And this was done by Team PCP as well. GitHub code. Is it on GitHub's blog? On your blog. Too many links. I don't think they put the full write-up on. Can somebody find that? So I think this is what I'm getting from that it was a compromised NX. This is I don't think that GitHub has released, or maybe they have, but from what I have read was that it was just a compromised version of NX. You muted me. Thanks for letting me know. I don't even know what's going on. I don't even know what's going on. Oh. Oh, look at this. Impersonating an MCP server. Who would have guessed? Who would have guessed? I didn't even cover this, the NX console. NX seems to get hacked quite a bit. I'm not. It feels like it's the entire NPM registry. It's the entire NPM registry. And you know what? Like, I'm going to say that, and I want to be clear. Well, I'm going to say the entire NPM registry has this issue. I actually think that probably more specifically, it is I'm going to call it a Windows problem. I'm going to call it a Windows problem because that's the best way I can describe it, is when you have 90% of the infrastructure running, then people target you. I don't think that this is just an NPM issue. I don't think it's just a PyPy issue. We've seen a little bit in PyPy. I think it's going to explode in PyPy. I think it's already exploded in NPM. I think it's going to spread to other ones as well. I think that it's the Windows effect where you're going to spend your time where there's the most people. You do it to crates.io and somebody might not even download it that day, right? You hack one of those. Okay, whoopsie. You got into 3 machines in 3 months. So you're going to target it in a place, not only where, I would, this is probably incorrect, but maybe a little bit correct. JavaScript ecosystem also has a lot more new engineers and younger people in there. So it's probably a lot easier to attack because not only are there younger engineers, but there's just more engineers. So you have a bigger dumpster to dive through of credentials to find and things to exploit. Whereas you have like 12 Rust projects on crate.io and to actually find one that's used and leveraged, you got Tokyo, and then you have Tokyo, and you also have Axum. So you have all of those repositories to target. You don't have the breadth that you would have out there. So anyways, I'm calling out NPM on this, but I think it's the Windows effect. All right. All right, we have just 2 quick things. One, there was a lively fight about Anthropic's Bun Rust rewrite merged at the speed of AI. I think this is a very interesting take. I think that there's a lot about saying that publicity stunt, right? They used $1 million of tokens as a publicity stunt. But I think there's actually more to that. I've said this for a little while, that I believe that Rust is better for LLMs than Zig because of its strictness, and that strictness is actually better for agents. So I actually think that if you're trying to do something like this, that I actually think Rust is a better suited thing for an LLM. Now, when Bun first started, it wasn't an LLM thing, right? It was bought by Anthropic. So it would make sense then to be done in Zig. It might make more sense if they're trying to do everything using agents to use something that has more code available to train on and that has better feedback. And part of that is due to stability. Zig is still not stable and it's changing a lot. And as things change, it's hard on the LLM to keep up because remember, LLMs are trained on months old data. And so I think there's probably a lot of reasons that this was actually a really viable thing and not a slight on what Zig is doing. I still plan on using Zig if I can on my embedded devices because I think it would be really cool to use on that. Yeah. Anyways, this brought up a huge debate. There's a lot of people fighting about it. Here is the 1 million lines of Rust code. GitHub is dying. GitHub cannot do 1 million page lines. GitHub is such a quality product. Now, to be fair, they probably haven't tried to show a 1 million line change. Or did they just go down again? Did they just... Oh my gosh. I can't even reload the page. The page isn't reloading. No, they just went down again. They just went down again. Oh my gosh. Um, 99.8% of Bun's pre-existing test suite passes. Now, I have an interesting question about the 2%. Russell, you brought in a really, really good point about these 2%. One, how many tests are we talking about? It's my guess is for a mature product like this that's been around for a long time and a core product, you're talking about several hundred tests that are failing here. My guess would be at least 200. Now that being said, what are those tests? And why weren't they fixed before merging in, right? Like, what type of edge cases were these protecting against? I'm not sure. And the thing is, GitHub, I don't know. GitHub just has crapped out. Anyways, there has been a huge discussion online about it. Anyways, huge debate about it. It's interesting. But the best news here is that GitHub is down. Is anybody else can anybody else access GitHub? Is this just for me? Oh, it's back. All right, can we go to the 1 million lines of code? Uh-oh. I can get this page. I can't get this. Can anybody else get the 1 million lines of code? Can you guys go to file? Oh no, this is down now too again. GitHub is just taking a hard break right now. All right, well, I'm gonna have to apologize. I said that this was not quite accurate. I said that this was not quite accurate. I believe that this is too generous. I believe this is too generous. I don't see today's outage anywhere. Thank you very much. Four sevens of availability incoming. How AI took us from 4 9s of availability is it to 4 7s of availability. I could just see this as like I have to make this now. I have to make a YouTube mockumentary of GitHub's declining availability on AI. I'm just going to call it like 7777. And it's just going to be a mockumentary. Gosh dang it, let me document this 1 second. The 4/7's mockumentary. Okay. We're writing more code. So that's actually something that I wanted to talk about. There was this, the invisible burden, how AI has redefined developer productivity in 2026. I have found that people are really bad at judging developer productivity. And there's a lot of reasons, because like one, like as soon as you make a metric a goal, then it becomes useless, right? Because you get gamification of that metric. And the other problem is if you change what you're measuring, then you can never compare it to what you were doing before. So I actually am really big on companies like DX. Again, not a sponsor, but I do love their work. You know, which help engineering leaders look for bottlenecks. So it's you can forget the AI era thing because they did it before the AI era. I don't know if I can show you a demo, but like it helps you identify bottlenecks. So basically, it looks across a bunch of different metrics and says, hey, look, this one is where things are slowing down, and you can look to try to bump that up. You know, you could look at something like PR cycle time and try to increase that while watching all the other ones. Because what you can do and what happens is like you focus on PR throughput, and that goes up, but you see a decrease in all the other ones. Or you look at you know, how long it takes to get a code review. That's something I watch on my teams. You know, we have like an internal SLA for my teams, and my teams hold to those internal SLAs on how fast they'll get a code review to somebody that needs a code review. Now, you can look at like that as one metric of this whole thing of metrics. And when you look at it individually, it doesn't actually mean a whole lot. But what you can do is look at it holistically. And so I bring that up. I bring that up because like this brings up a lot of really interesting questions. One, if we change the things that we measure, we can't actually compare that to before AI, right? Because we weren't measuring that. And the problem is people never measured goals. One thing that I really strictly try to enforce on like meetings and things like that is if you're going to hold a meeting, there should be an objective. Like, I don't want to hear, oh, we're going to do this process to make us faster. That's like making a process for a thing. You should start with your goals, and then talk about how you want to achieve those and figure out how you want to achieve those goals. And so if you have clear and well set goals, you can actually measure your goals. Now, does this help us measure developer productivity? This is the hard part. Just because you increased the number of PRs that you made, just because you committed more code, was it code that was of high quality? Was it code that actually did a thing that you wanted to do? Was it code that you're just going to throw away? Was it code that actually did anything meaningful for your customers or for your company? These are things that, of the best, I think there are two leaders in leveraging AI. And I don't think these are the AI companies. Of all the companies I've gotten to talk to and the leaders at those companies, Intercom and Airbnb. Intercom and Airbnb. There's also a bank. Yeah, I mean, I can tell you the name of the bank, BNC Bank. They're lower, but they're in a much more regulated environment. They have done the best that I've seen of any company. And I mean, like, they use AI to the sums of hundreds of thousands of dollars of tokens per month for a dev team of like 200. Hundreds of thousands of dollars per month, or per week. That was actually per week. It's probably closer to like $1 million a month of AI token spend for a 200 engineering team. So when I say they use AI, they are token maxing. And when I asked them, and they've measured PR throughput, their PR throughput has increased. The number of lines they've made has increased. The amount of code they've thrown away has also increased. They could not look me straight in the eye and say, I know for a fact we have gone faster and produced more value for our customers with the same number of people as we did before. That's what I literally asked them. They couldn't tell me that. They hope that they are, and they believe that they are, but that's where we're at. Hey, Russell, I'm honored. You think that I know what your maybe 6'7" TikTok thing means. I would be ashamed if TikTok was installed on my phone. Now that I said that, let me make sure it's not. Yeah. Wait. TikTok. Wait. Oh, no, I misspelled it. It's TIC. Nope, it's not. Okay. Just wanted to make sure. What is it? You gotta send me a link. Send it in Discord so I can make sure I can 6-7 it. Is that like killing something? Like you're gonna 6-7 it? That's what I'm using it as. I'm gonna 6-7 it. Okay, so this was actually an interesting. Now, there's a lot of different takes, and I actually love using AI. I actually think that there are productivity gains from leveraging AI. What I dislike is AI slop, because I think that AI slop is real. And I also think that it gives misconceptions to executive leaderships. I think executive leadership across the world is being lied to about AI's capabilities and its capabilities to do more than it can. And so that's what I'm fighting about, or I'm fighting against. I'm fighting for that knowledge, and to fully understand where and how we can leverage AI. Now, according to the 2026 State of Engineering Excellent Report from Hardness, 31% of a developer's day is now consumed by AI-related invisible work. This includes deeper scrutiny of code quality, increased accountability for downstream outcomes, and complex judgment calls regarding when to trust or override AI. Despite this, established frameworks like door metrics and cycle time were not designed to measure these new requirements. The data highlights a significant productivity offset. While AI improves gross output volume and shortens cycle times, 81% of engineering leaders report that code review time, often viewed as overhead or toil, has risen sharply since deploying AI. This rise in validation effort often exists outside the measurement process, leading to synthetic friction. So there's burnout, there's trust issues. There is prioritization and what you're actually building. So building is actually relatively easy. I can go and have Cursor go out and build just a bajillion lines of code. Now, is that useful code? Is that code that's actually going to make a difference to people? That's the thing that you really have to argue about. And when code generation was more expensive, you actually had to think about what you're building. Now, when people aren't thinking, they're just building stuff. But that doesn't mean you built something useful. Just because, you know, look at you can build something that's never going to be used. There are many government fails of building something that didn't actually help people. That's not the one that there in Moscow. There's a stop that isn't used. It's not the Siberia one that I was looking for. It basically ends in a grassy field. It's literally a subway to nowhere. Siberia is somewhere, it's just not where you want to be. So anyways, this is a big problem. Yeah, I don't know. I think I kind of rambled about it. I saw this, if anybody's interested. Code today is like the housing market. Don't just build because you can. I saw this, Flipper 1. If you guys didn't know what the Flipper 0 is, the Flipper 0 was this. The Flipper 1 is supposed to be like a network layer device of the Flipper 0. They have ambitious calls for it. We'll see if it comes to fruition. They're asking for help. There was Google's anti-gravity bait and switch. Did you guys see this? This was hilarious. Okay, first. The day was to begin like any other, with anti-gravity open. Yes, there are tens of us. Anti-gravity was so bad. It was so vibe-coded slop that it was just terrible. Literally, you know how on a normal thing like this, I have like tabs. Well, the ones over here, past like this line, I wouldn't even be able to click on Linux. Like these were just unclickable. I'd have to get them over here to get them. Laughably bad. Like it did not work for garbage. It didn't work for garbage. Anyways, so yeah, I love that this person at least has the understanding that it didn't work. Well, anti-gravity did another laughably bad mistake that should have landed it in the epic fails of the week. Basically, anti-gravity updated to the new way people are going, where it's not a text editor anymore, and it's just really just you talking to the agent and obfuscating all of that pesky file system stuff. It's got the standalone codex style experience. Now, I personally hate that experience because it kind of makes it hard to actually see the code if you want to see it. But that's neither here nor there. This is anti-gravity version 2. But what they did was they made anti-gravity auto upgrade and then aggressively scrub anti-gravity 1. And so it auto upgraded to version 2, deleted version 1, and then Google made it possible to download version 1. And so when you downloaded version 1, it wouldn't work because anti-gravity 2 version 2 would aggressively delete it and scrub it. So the only way to recover their stuff was to aggressively scrub every anti-gravity thing from their system and reinstall anti-gravity 1 and pause updates. But that lost all of their context and everything. It was fantastic. You guys should go read it. Serves you right for using anti-gravity. I know a thing or two about SSDs. I come from the company that literally had to recreate the hardware that they run their cloud on because we destroyed their SSDs. Okay? We could write so much data to their SSDs so quickly, we could burn their SSDs to the ground. So I know a thing or two about SSDs. You do not want to run on swap. Full stop. Full stop. You do not want to leverage your swap, especially if you're using a MacBook. And the reason is your hard drive on that MacBook is the only hard drive that MacBook gets. When it's done, it's done. Now on this computer, I might use swap because guess what? My NVMe drives here are easily to be swapped out. I can swap in a new one and whatnot. Your M1, M2, M3, M4, M6, MX MacBooks, you can't change the hard drive. The one you've got is the one you've got. And the very important part is if you use swap on Apple's, you will destroy your laptop hard drive in minutes, in hours. Now, one thing I really want to point here is, so this person was like, memory pressure in the yellow band kind of state you absolutely should not run a normal Tuesday. Apple swap is designed for it. Their hard drive is not designed for it. 3,000 to 5,000 write cycles. They don't publish it, but what they have said is that a 5,000 gigabyte drive or 500 gigabyte drive can typically endure 1,500 to 2,500 terabytes written, which is about 3,000. And this checks out from what I could find out from their official website. So we have about 3,000 to 5,000 write cycles, okay? Not a whole lot. Not a whole lot. And what I really want to point out to is that write cycles are very, very finicky. This is the blocks of your SSD. Your SSD has a bunch of blocks. Okay, let's tidy these up a little bit. And now what I want to do is I want to say that this one is full, this one is full, this one is full, and this one is full. Now memory, random access memory, is meant to be written to and deleted over and over again really, really fast. So obviously you'd have a lot more blocks than this, but let's just say these are all the blocks of your 512 gig thing. And so this is roughly, let's see, this is 4 out of 6. So this is 4/6 of your hard drive. This has your videos, your photos, your applications, things that are written there, and they're taking it up. If you do 500 gigs of memory, you could be writing 500 gigs every minute to these two blocks. Now, if you can uphold roughly 3,000 to 5,000 writes, this is hours. And I never made a video, but I did destroy that one Mac Mini, leveraging swap. It is hours of swap time. If you are running a Mac Mini or an M1, don't leverage the swap. You cannot leverage the swap. Like if you hit it once, okay, take a deep breath, you're fine. If your disk is completely empty, you can spread that load across the entire disk. The fact is your disk is not empty, it's fragmented, and there's sections of it that you can't leverage. Hitting swap on a Mac is like, I mean, this guy destroyed his disk. He has sections that I guarantee it, if he checked, there are sections that are bad at this point. Anyways, I'm sorry. I saw this and I actually wanted to talk because it's it's a cool article. It's a cool article. It's a cool article that I don't want to get. I got really hung up on this because you cannot leverage swap on a Mac because that hard drive is the hard drive you have, full stop, period. And it is not designed to run on swap. And if people are confused about what swap is when you use your hard drive as memory. Memory is random access memory that is meant to be accessed millions of times. Okay, cool article. So this guy basically wanted to have metadata beside every video. This is like the description.md of the video for every video that he had. And at first I was like, and he said that he did it in a night with his Mac Mini. And I was like, or no, it was his Mac Pro. And I was like, there's no way he did that in one night because like looking at all that video would just destroy ChatGPT. And the thing is, he would just, it was actually really well done. He took like 5 different sources of data, like the GPS data from the camera and all these other things, and added that to it. And then the AI actually only got, he took 4 frames evenly spaced out. He took 4 frames from the video evenly spaced out and fed that into the LLM so that the LLM was actually only looking at 4 different frames with the metadata giving a description of what was happening. Now, I don't know how well it worked because, again, there's a lot of stuff that would be almost impossible to tell from like a family video of what's going on from 4 still frames. So I don't think that it's a perfect thing, but for a fast pass of a catalog, it was a cool thing to do. Super cool. So go read it. It's a good article. Just do not use swap on your Mac. Okay, everyone. My throat is dying. I'm gonna have to go for today. The swap got me all excited. There wasn't much else in the news. Did I miss something that was really important? Did you guys see something really interesting that I should have covered? Remember, each Saturday for the news, bring your stuff. I may stream Monday. We have off, and I may stream some on Monday. It's probably going to be in the evening. My kids are leaving for like a week vacation, and I might stream some in the evening. I might play some video games though too, so we'll see if I stream in the evening or not. We'll see. Let me see if there's a person to raid. Do you guys see a good person to raid? There's always Theo. We'll raid Theo. You guys learn some hacking. Okay. Anyways, thanks everybody for joining. I need to get some programming done. I'm gonna schedule some in. I'm thinking Monday afternoon. I'll alert in the Discord if you guys are interested. It's probably going to be kind of a working session, so if you want to join for the working session, please do. Otherwise, have yourselves a fantastic weekend. And say hi to Theo for me.